Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. Guess what? That's it. It's the midweek hump. The midweek hump. And you're looking absolutely amazing. Everybody loves the midweek hump. Everybody. No matter who you are, where you are, the midweek hump is for everyone. So let's get straight into it, because we'll start this morning by just very briefly touching on Dylan Rounds. Now, I see lots of people reaching out saying, Dylan Rounds found, they've found Dylan Rounds. Didn't find him. It weren't a case of finding him. They had the plea deal with the scumbag motherfucker who killed him, and he was able to then go and say, yep, here he is. This is where I put him. And that kind of pisses me off, because somebody is able to murder someone, fucking lie about it, talking about Brenner, obviously, who we all fucking knew he did it, but so he lies about it, hides Dylan from his family for 2 years, and then says, oh, well, if you want me to save you some money and make this situation go quicker, then I will let you know where I put him. And that's what happened, basically. And yeah, that pisses me right off, because I think that should just be a case of, no, what we'll do, we know you did it, so we're just going to torture you until you tell us, and that's it. But there we go. Don't put me in charge, because I'm clearly crazy. Dylan's body has been located today as part of a plea deal. James Brenner led police to Dylan's remains. I know there will be many questions, because Dylan's family has them as well. This is all we know for now. The family appreciates everyone's condolences and support. Please allow them time to process this new information, and do not contact them directly. You're welcome to add your comments to this post or post them individually, and it just goes on to obviously say, yeah, he's been found. And yeah, so that brings the mystery of where Dylan Rounds is to a close 2 years on, as part of a plea deal. So there we go. So it's great that the family have answers. It's just shite that it was all part of some plea deal to get, something for the person who did this heinous act. I'm not even talking about it anymore, because it winds me up. But what are we talking about? I did a live yesterday, and it was touching on the interview that the Gonsalves family did over at the interview room with Chris McDonough. And yeah, there was some eye-opening stuff, some really eye-opening stuff, but I think some of the most eye-opening stuff was surrounding the University of Idaho. Now, I said yesterday how I'd watched an episode of Bones, and I get it, you know what I mean? When you watch these programs on TV, they're just programs, they're just shows, but it was showing how a university had basically helped to promote the self-deletion of a student when in fact it was a murder, and it got me to thinking there must be some kind of truths to people's mentalities around these places. And listening to Steve Gonsalves talk about the University of Idaho and Scott Green, and the $1 million that the university was given in order to assist them throughout this tragedy, it just led me, the more I listened to it, the more it kind of made me sick. And I think it's important to step back and just have a bit of a thought on this, right? Because we've got this guy, we've got this Brian Kohberger, who has been arrested and charged with this crime. And look, he could have done it. He definitely could have done it. 100% he could have done it. But I haven't seen enough to be confident to say, yeah, he 100% did it beyond a reasonable doubt. And with that mentality, I have to step back and say, all right, so but if he didn't, then who did do this? And what happened then? What happened? Now, some people reached out to me, and they were talking about a channel, 1111 Crime or something. And about a week ago, they were going through the Reddit posts, all of the stuff that was on. They were posts that was supposedly uploaded by the fraternity lads and sorority. They were going balls deep into kind of the dramas surround the sororities and the fraternities of the University of Idaho. And I was thinking to myself, do you know what? If you didn't have Brian Koberger, if he didn't exist, if someone hadn't have pointed and said, that's the guy that you want, which to me, that's what happened. That's the only thing in my mind that makes sense, that someone literally pointed at Brian Koberger and went, that's your guy. But if he didn't exist, who would be under the spotlight? Who? Think about it. Students would be under the spotlight. Students would be under the spotlight, and therefore the university would be under the spotlight. And what you've seen in the Idaho 4 case itself, and with the interjection of the University of Idaho, you've seen exactly how they handle things. So the first thing they do is very, very quickly get involved. They get involved. They find what they need to say, look, we need to be front and centre of this. And our excuse is, these are students. The crime didn't happen on their property. The students rented privately and lived in a private residence off of campus. But yet, because they were students, it gave the university the ability to somehow get even ahead of law enforcement and almost work side by side. And you think to yourself, when the Kylie Rodney situation happened, and you get Sammy Smith, who's liaising with the searchers and coordinating everything and asking people to, if you've got something to say, if you've got questions, come and speak to me. Come and speak to me. If you don't want to speak to law enforcement, come to me. And it's almost that same situation, right? And they then get a load of money. Because you've got, at the spearheading that university is a multi-billionaire, is a billionaire businessman. Like some people said, if you're worth like that sort of money, why would you even want this fucking job? And I thought to myself, I know why, because it gives power. People who have got that sort of money, they want power. It's about power and influence and being able to use that money to further their power and influence. So they get hold of a load of money, which there is going to be some issues with that money later on. And through that interview that the Gonsalves family did with the interview room, Steve Gonsalves, Christie and McDonough, it's quite clear, as that was closing out, as per Shannon Gray, that it would seem they're going to be suing the university. That's the vibe that I got, that there's going to be a case brought against the University of Idaho. And you think to yourself, so why is that then? Because the University of Idaho has completely fucked over the parents of these victims. What they've done is they've utilised the Idaho 4 crime for financial gain through marketing. A book, that's it, a fucking book, $800,000 plus in funds that they spearheaded again under the guise that this is the Idaho 4 bench and we're going to use that as an excuse to tear down the crime scene, remove the crime scene, build a bench, or build a garden. Bench. It probably will just be a bench. But this memorial place, and then it turns around that actually it's not going to be for the Idaho 4. It's just going to be for the students to remember sort of all of the things. Do you know what I mean? All of the people that have been lost. And so you market it under the Idaho 4 case. And it is like this, right? As a content creator, and I know I'm going to cop some flack because we're like, that's what you do. Yeah, but I'm a content creator who covers true crime cases. That's the whole purpose of me on this platform, to discuss cases and news and what have you, and to have ad revenue on here. That's not his job. Scott Green's job isn't that. He's not a content creator, but what he has done, he's done marketing 101. He's seen a situation in the Idaho 4 murders, and he's marketed that to his own advantage for his book. His book started 3 weeks after this crime. 3 weeks, had his team ready to go. Crack on, strike while the iron's hot. And then, like I say, they got these funds. Not everyone was in on it, but because what they wanted, the legislators wanted line by line. Okay, what do you want earmarked? It was just this round figure, $1 million. Give us $1 million. But they wanted, so how much do you want for this? How much do you want for that? 600,000 of that was for consultations, whatever it was. I've got it here. What do we got? $3,700 was for counselling for the students. So when they're talking about they got to bring the property down and help the community heal, they spent under $4,000 of $1 million on student counselling. Could you, Adam and Eve, that? It's an absolute joke. But I think I've got some more here. It was like $600,000 on consultants. 600,000. 60% of that money that they got on consultants, they won't say how it was spent. There was legislators who were involved in getting that funding that believed that some of that funding was going to go to the families. Scott Green didn't even reach out to the Gonsalves family. Hasn't even fucking reached out to them. And when they tore down that house, they didn't notify them until the day before. The day before. That place has been involved in this crime all over it, like white on rice. And it pisses me off. Because we talk about the fact that Brian Coburg has been arrested. He could have been the person who did this crime. I get it, 100%. He could have done it. I need to see more, but he could have done it. But if he didn't, what else happened? And who has power, who has money, who has an incentive to push this crime onto someone else? And you cannot tell me, if you are someone who can sit there with a straight face and say Karen Reid is being set up, that you can't then turn around and say, yeah, but Brian Coburg, there's no fucking way, hell on earth, he could be being set up. You've got parents around this that are up to their nuts in the Greek life who are selling out on what happened at 1122 King Road. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing here. This Greek wall of silence and the ability to do and say whatever they want. When the FBI went to that house to do remember, they wanted to tear that house down, and their excuse was, we don't need it anymore. We don't need it. It's done. That wasn't the case. Hence why the FBI had to go back there and do further imaging to that property. And when they went there to do that, the university had control of that property, shown by Chris McDonough in the van that was on the side of it was University of Idaho Facilities Department. So they were even controlling that property then. How did they get it? How is it and why is it that property went to the university? How does that factor in anywhere in terms of makes any sense? Why? It's like Steve Gonsalves said. He turned around and said, when they were talking to the college, why are the college involved? Why is the university involved in all this? And the university's answer to that is because they're students. Steve Gonsalves turns around and said, but we're parents. How is it that you know shit that we don't know? How is it that you keep getting the jump on us and we are the parents? It's all about money in this case. All about money. And there's some powerful people behind this case. And like I say, if you're someone who believes that Karen Reid over there could be getting stitched up, and people are going to have to start contemplating an alternative if this goes the wrong way. But it's like J.B. Gunner says as well. J.B. Gunner says, Ann Taylor is a public defender. Public defender. She works for Idaho. She works for Moscow, Idaho. She works for the state. She is not paid whether, if her client gets off. She's not a high-paid attorney. She is paid by the state to do a job. And their job is to get to how can I say this? to try and get a plea deal out of him. So it's to get the answer that the state wants in the cheapest way possible while sticking within the realms of the law. Do you know what I mean? That's it. It's scary. It's scary. You've got a guy who's been accused of doing a crime that some of us can look at and think, oh, do you know what? There's some stuff that sits uncomfortable with me around this case. And he's being, on one side of the fence, he's got the state coming at him saying, you did it, and trying to seemingly stop Ann Taylor from doing a job. They have. However much you want to argue with it, they're trying to stop her doing a job. But what is her job? And is this just all smoke and mirrors? Is this just a sing and dance? And is Judge John Judge, when you see him and his flippant ways in that courtroom, is this just because he is being entertained so he can sit back and smile and smirk as smug as he is? Something ain't right here. What do you think? Let me know down below. I've had a rant and now I'm going to go and have a coffee. I'll catch you all in video 2 later, and alive tonight.